is it your position that if Miss Heard was abused, she gets to hit Mr. Depp?
That's not my opinion.
But you know she hits him, right?
And I testified to that.
Right. And how many times do you believe that she told you that she hit him?
Do I believe that she told me, or how many instances were there?
Well, I don't know how you.
Well, how would you know how many instances there were? You weren't there. The only way or frame of reference you have is how many times she told you. Why are you changing the vocabulary to minimize her telling you versus what actually happened? You see what she's saying? She's creating a differentiation there. You see that?
No, other than her telling you. You weren't there, right?
I was not there, that's correct.
All right. How many times did she admit to hitting him?
She indicated a number of times in a number of instances.
A number. A number is 35.
You indicated that you had listened to audio recordings as part of the work you did in this case?
That's correct.
All right. I'd like to play you a portion of one of those recordings. It's Plaintiff's Exhibit 343. It's already in evidence.
Okay.
And for the record, the portion I want to play is 2 minutes 46, 246.01 to 247.20.
0 is a number 2. Is 0 a number, or is 0 an absence of a number? I don't know. I feel like she would make that distinction as to whether 0 was a number or the absence of a number. I don't know. If Bill Clinton was here, I'm sure he'd fucking bring that up too.
I said to you, hey, tell Travis what just happened.
Oh, you told me to do it. You told me to. You said, go do that.
I said, no, tell him what just happened.
And I lied.
And that you punched me in the
You're right.
fucking thing. And
You figured it out.
And you said, no, fucking, I didn't. What the fuck are you talking about? And I watched you lie. And then
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
You know, you've been in a lot of fights, been around a long time. I know. Yeah.
No, when you fucking have a close
You didn't get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not fucking deck you. I fucking was hitting you. I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
How are you?
What am I supposed to do? Do this? I'm not sitting here bitching about it, am I? You are. That's the difference between me and you. You're a fucking baby.
Because you started.
You are such a baby. Grow the fuck up,
Did you
Johnny.
start physical fights?
Oh my god.
I did start a physical fight.
Yeah, you did, so I had
Because
to get the fuck out of
It's
there.
so
Yes,
obvious.
you did. So you did the right thing.
Like, it's like this isn't a red flag. This is a red curtain. Show's over, folks. She's fucking crazy. Like, I mean, really, it's like, how many of these are there? Like, I was going to pause and be like, oh yeah, this is actually a red flag people bring up. And like, as I was thinking through what I was going to say, another one happened. And I'm like, I can't keep up with this. I can't keep up with this. This is insane.
Big thing. You know what? You're admirable.
Looney Tunes outro, yeah.
You agree with Ms. Heard that it's admirable to retreat from a fight?
Is it admirable? It is admirable to retreat from a fight.
Yeah.
What about to instigate one?
Anything about this tape suggest to you that it's characteristic of reactive violence?
In this instance, if true, if she said she hit him first, then that would not be reactive violence.
In this instance, if true, if she said she hit him first. You see all of those qualifying statements to somehow obfuscate what actually was said and to try to create all of these different, like barriers and things like this. If this happened, if there was a possibility that maybe, for instance, like if, yes, a lot of ifs. Come on. It's not an if.
All right. You testified that Ms. Heard reported to you that she engaged in low levels of violence, correct?
Well, I don't think she said that. I think that was the characterization of knowing the types of minor and severe levels of violence.
Oh, okay, I got it wrong.
I think we've seen this one.
You consider low levels of violence.
Well, I consider what the literature and the research talks about low levels of violence as opposed to severe levels of violence.
And I think you suggested that Ms. Heard sustained more severe injuries, correct?
I think I said more frequent injuries.
More frequent, but not more severe.
Well, certainly the incidents in Australia and the sexual violence and the incidents on December 15th, 2015 were quite severe.
You said you reviewed medical records in rendering your opinion.
Correct.
Well, not really.
And you reviewed photographs.
Correct.
Now, other than the reports to her therapists, which you call medical records, right?
Yeah, I would call those medical records,
Right.
sure.
Other than the reports to
Her therapist or medical records? That certainly seems, again, this seems extremely, it's TOS? No, it's not. We already saw, like, this is, I think, where we just caught up, right? This is where I started today. I'm like 99% sure that we already, like, this is what's coming up. Yeah, we caught up. I'm just going to finish this part, and then we're going to go past that, okay? And then I'll talk about some other stuff, too. Anyone can go to a therapist and report whatever they want. It's American law, though. Statements don't help because they don't work on a jury. Yeah, it's just nuts. Definitely discredits the expert witness. Exactly. And a woman shits in a bed because she's angry. What else does she take to this trial? Their medical records about their mental health, but not about what actually happened. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, these are records of, like, her medical and, like, mental health, but there's no evidence that actual violence occurred. Yeah, that's exactly it.
her therapist,
Dave Chappelle,
there's not a
what happened with
single
that?
medical record
Look at after
that
this.
reflects any injury to Ms. Heard,
Yeah.
is there?
That's not correct.
No. There is not other than what doctor reflected injuries to Ms. Heard?
The note by Erin Borum, her married name, I'm not recalling her married name, indicated that she was headbutted by Mr. Depp and that she went for a concussion check and she had a busted lip and then she went to Dr. Kipper's office in order to get checked.
What? And there's a medical record other than that note that reflects it?
There's a note that she showed up at Dr. Kipper's office. There's a note in the
But there's
similar 2
nothing from
days
Dr.
that
Kipper,
Dr.
is there?
Laurel Anderson saw the 2 bruises from that same incident as well.
All right. You
So
reviewed.
there's no medical documentation of this at all. Like, I feel like this is, yeah, it means nothing. Yeah, this is nothing. Like, it's like, yeah, she showed up. There's a note, it's a medical record. I don't understand this at all. Why is she defending her? Answer the fucking question. The reason why she's defending her is that this is a person who, I feel like it's very clear that this lady here, I don't know about hates men. I think that might be too much. But it's very clear that she views all domestic disputes between a man and a woman as the man being the aggressor and the woman being the victim. And also, she's getting paid. She was getting paid by Amber Heard's team, and she was brought on by her legal team. And then, again, another obvious obfuscation. Amber Heard's legal team did it, not Amber Heard. Well, who is the legal team beholden to? Amber Heard. So what do you mean, like, oh, her team did it, I didn't do it, it was my team? Well, you're the one that tells the team what to do. You have autonomy over what they do because it's your fucking team. Like, it's just, how the fuck, like, I can't believe that so much of this obvious bullshit just goes through. It just completely goes through out of nowhere. Oh my God. Same argument goes for Dr. Curry. The same argument goes for Dr. Curry. Yeah, the difference is that Dr. Curry was not being presented as an unbiased source as the same way that she was. And also, like, there was testing that was associated with that as well. Yeah, it's completely different. It's not the same at all. Just because they're both doctors or psychologists that have seen these people doesn't mean that it's the exact same situation. You recognize medical note is medical record. It's important you recognize medical note is medical record. I don't really care about that because I think that it's deliberately disingenuous. I think that what the lawyer is obviously asking for is if there's any medical records of documented actual trauma by a doctor in any shape or form. that I don't really care about whether it's a note or anything like that. The language and the definitions to me are completely irrelevant, because these are things that change. They can be redefined. They can be misunderstood. The language really doesn't make a difference, because the language is being used, is being weaponized in a specific way. So it's about what the intent is behind the language, and I think the intent behind the language is what really matters. Now, whether it's it's a medical record, it's not a medical record. I think that what people are saying, and this is the deliberately disingenuous, deliberately misleading language. It's a medical record. Whenever somebody thinks of a medical record, they think of an actual doctor examining somebody. And if you're talking about a psychologist that's made a mental health evaluation, and then you are using that interchangeably with a physical altercation that occurred, and then saying it's a medical record, you are clearly implying that there is a medical record for also the physical altercation, which is not what happened. So this is you're clearly implying something that's not happening. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? So I don't really care. As I said before, I don't care about what the technicalities are or anything like that. The technicalities, the language, I don't give a fuck about it, because it's the intent behind it that I care about much more than anything else. Dr. Curry never said Amber hit Johnny. In fact, it's unethical to determine if IPV happened or not. Well, I mean, apparently not according to her. Yeah, that's the way I see it. Lawyers should ask, were there any medical records? Yeah, I don't know. Should forensic a psychologist, their jobs be unbiased, bring back facts forward? I mean, that's clearly not what's happened. Yeah, and so this is where I look at things, and by their statement, if she fell and scraped her knee, she can go to the doctor and get stitches, and using only that, tell the psychologist it was Johnny Depp. Yeah, biased but professional. Well, it's important to take like somebody's credibility into mind, but I feel like it's so obvious what this woman is doing. It's so obvious that she's defending her categorically because she's a woman, because that's what she's done for her entire career. That this is what's happened every single time. And so what a surprise it's happening again. It's like, again, I'm not the kind of person that, I'm not as open-minded to let my brain fall out, okay? You have a person here who has made it a career to do things that, in many cases, exclusively benefit women. And in the cases where she supports men, it's in same-sex marriages. So there's never a case where she's advocating against a woman in favor of a man. This has certainly not happened, at least as far as we know. And this has happened multiple times. And it's happened, apparently, according to her, she's been a witness 50 times for this. She's, basically projecting this ideology to other people with, like, these different presentations and stuff like this. And I feel like and that's why the legal team called on her, because the legal team was familiar with her behavior. They were familiar with her work because they had worked with her before. So they didn't need to have a formal conspiracy. They didn't have to sit down in a dark room and say, oh, you're going to tell, the jury this thing, because they knew this person was going to think that. You see what I'm saying? Like, you didn't need to do that. You don't need to plan this out, because it's already assumed based off of this person's behavior and pattern of behavior for, 30 years. She's most likely at fault for several men getting falsely put in prison. Well, it's not just that. It's not just the several people that she got in jail. It's also all of the people who have been damaged in the crossfire for this. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, whenever, these types of ideologies are spread. She never spoke with Johnny, so she only had the emotional connection with Amber. Well, of course she didn't talk with him, and I think that she probably made relatively no effort to do so. It clearly makes a business on providing expert testimony that defends abusers. Well, not necessarily defends abusers. I'm sure that she's provided testimony where the women were the victim. I mean, there are a lot of cases where that's true. But I think that it's not something that she's not basing this off of the authenticity of the case. She's basing it off of the gender of the accuser. That's what she's doing. Look at her face when he paused. Looks just pooping. Okay. Hope psychologist's career is severely looked at and questioned after this case for a future client's sake. Well, I just wouldn't take... I hope this ruins her career. Absolutely. I'm sure you believe everything you're saying, but what I'm saying is if you believe something different, you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good way to say it. It's like, yes, she's put in this position because the legal team knows this is the outlook that she's going to have based off of her history. All right.
Well, I don't think she said that. I think
Yep.
that was the characterization of knowing the types of minor and severe levels of violence.
Okay, I missed the first
I
beginning.
got it wrong. You consider low levels of violence.
Well, I consider
Yes.
what the literature and the research talks about low levels of violence as opposed to severe levels of violence.
And I think you suggested that Ms. Heard sustained more severe.
I'll watch the rest of
Injuries,
it stuff
correct?
I think
afterwards.
I said more frequent injuries.
More frequent, but not more severe.
Well, certainly.
Yeah, I'll watch it
the
after
incidents in
the live
Australia
part's
and
over.
The sexual violence and the incidents on December 15th, 2015 were quite severe.
You said you reviewed medical records in rendering your opinion,
Correct.
and you reviewed photographs.
Correct.
Now, other than the reports to her therapists, which you call medical records, right?
Yeah, I would call those medical records,
Right.
sure.
Other than the reports to her therapist, there's not a single medical record that reflects any injury to Ms. Heard.
Isn't that interesting?
That's not correct.
No. There is not other than what doctor reflected injuries to Ms. Heard?
Uh-oh.
The note by Erin Borum, her married name, Falat, I'm not recalling her married name, indicated that she was headbutted by Mr. Depp and that she went for a concussion check and she had a busted lip and then she went to Dr. Kipper's office in order to get checked.
What? And there's a medical record other than that note that reflects it?
There's a note that she showed up at Dr. Kipper's office. There's a note in the
But there's
similar 2
nothing from
days
Dr.
that
Kipper,
Dr.
is there?
Laurel Anderson saw the 2 bruises.
There's a
on that
note,
incident
guys.
As well.
It's a note.
You reviewed photographs.
Yes.
Right. I'd like to put up PX 144.
Uh-oh, here we go.
The jury briefly. I'm going to keep it up very briefly.
It's a note. Yeah, guys, I can't believe that.
That photograph doesn't reflect a low level of violence, does it?
Well, that reflects a severe injury, I would agree.
Yeah. Why don't we go to PX 145?
Oh, no. Volume? Okay.
That's a severe injury that ended up with Mr. Depp on a gurney, correct?
Look at it. He's staring
That
at
is a severe
the...
injury,
Oh,
correct.
my God.
Throwing a can of mineral spirits at your spouse is characteristic of reactive violence.
If you are running away from your spouse who is trying to hurt you, yes.
What if you're not running away?
So you can throw a can of mineral spirits. What about if you throw a can of Red Bull?
Again, it depends on like the incident I think that you're referring to. That was not necessarily
Yeah,
reactive
what if,
violence. That was in a state of
hypothetically,
frustration or anger.
All right, so when you throw a can of Red Bull in a state of frustration or anger, that's not reactive violence.
No.
Right.
I bet it's not.
What about if you throw a bottle of vodka because your husband fell off the wagon? Is that reactive violence?
Are you asking me hypothetically?
I'm
No.
asking you, would that
No,
that
he's
be a
not.
characteristic of reactive violence? Throw a bottle of vodka because your husband fell off the wagon.
If it's in the middle of an assault, perhaps.
But what if it's
If
not?
it's independent of that, no.
Right. So, for instance, if your husband was just having a couple of shots at the bar.
Just hypothetically.
Again, you would need more information and context to
Yeah,
make
right.
that determination.
Absolutely.
You don't think that's a reflection of reactive violence? And you'll agree with me that when you throw the second bottle, that's not reactive violence.
Oh,
If
my
somebody has
God.
multiple bottles, again, psychological violence and abuse is psychologically destabilizing, which destabilizes individuals' coping strategies. That is absolutely true.
He just knew
Watch
how
what's
stupid
true.
that was.
Is it your testimony that once you've thrown one bottle and missed, when you throw the second one, now it's reactive violence?
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, my
I don't
God.
think throwing bottles is acceptable in any context.
All right.
But she just said it was, if it was reactive. Oh, my God. Look how red her face is, too.
All right. I'm going to ask you about some of the testing.
This is a bad day for her. She's having a bad day.
One of the things that you did was a form looked like called a CTS2 relationship behaviors form.
The conflict tactics scale, correct.
So CTS2 stands for conflict tactics scale.
That's correct.
And this is one of the documents that you had with you on the yesterday.
I had all my testing with me and all my clinical notes from my evaluation with Ms. Hurd.
And you gave me a copy of it because you looked at it during your testimony.
Because you asked me, so I gave it to you, yes.
Right. All right. But you have a good recollection of what that test is about, the CTS2 test.
I have a very good memory and a very good recollection. I want to give the jury
I'm
the
sure.
most accurate and thorough information. After having done 12 tests with so many questions, I wanted to just be as accurate as possible. I'm sure my memory would miss some things that might be relevant.
All right, so let's talk about the CTS2.
God, this guy's having such
It's
a good
dated
time.
9/26/2019.
Oh my
2019.
God.
Correct.
All right, 9/26/2019.
This is the best day of his
It
life.
goes through and it asks a whole series of questions about what you've done and what your partner has done.
That's correct.
There's tons of these questions.
Correct.
So this is why he became a lawyer.
And every single one of those questions is preceded by the same question, right? How often did this happen in the past year?
Correct.
You knew that as of 9/26/2019, not a single one of the things that Ms. Hurd identified happened to her in the last year.
Correct.
Right.
She was oriented to a different time frame to get a checklist of those behaviors.
Oh, it's a different time frame.
And one of the
It's a very tangled
one
web.
of the
Time is a tangled web, gentlemen.
although it says, please,
Oh my God.
how often did this happen in the past year? One of the questions is, my partner used force to make me have oral or anal sex.
Correct.
Oh,
You
we're
have a
getting
zero
into
on
it.
that, right?
I'd have to see if you'd like to show me.
You have any recollection that she didn't go with zero on that?
I have a recollection at that point in time, she was framing those type of acts as angry sex. She
And you
wasn't
helped
framing
her,
them as physical force, as most women don't on these measures.
and you helped her to reframe it as something other than angry sex, didn't you, doctor?
My job was not to do treatment. My job was to do an evaluation.
But
and
she
that's what I
reframed
did.
it yesterday.
All right. So you did an evaluation.
Oh.
And one of the evaluations you did, and one of the diagnoses that you ultimately made, relates to PTSD.
That is correct.
All right. And you diagnosed Amber Heard with PTSD long before you made use of the gold standard test for PTSD.
Oh.
That is correct.
All right.
Wow.
And I make the diagnosis of PTSD in my clinical practice without using the caps all the time.
All right. So just so that you and I are on the same
So she
page, and I think
frequently
we
does
are.
it wrong.
This gold standard test that I'm referring to is the CAPS 5.
She does it
That is
frequently
correct.
wrong all the
That's
time.
the one that
This wasn't the first time that she did it wrong.
administered, correct?
Correct.
All right. You didn't administer the CAP 5 until after you'd already diagnosed Amber Heard with PTSD, right?
She had PTSD in 2019. She had PTSD in the beginning of 2021 when I evaluated her. And then she had PTSD in December 27th, 2021 when I administered the caps. That's correct.
All right. I think I asked a much more narrow question than that. You didn't diagnose, you didn't give the CAPS 5. Hold on, I'm going to strike that question altogether and start it again. You had already diagnosed her with PTSD before you did the gold standard, correct?
Before I administered the caps 5, there was enough data in the psychological testing and my clinical evaluation to
She's
establish
nodding
that she met
along.
criteria for PTSD. That is
Yeah,
correct.
look at her. Oh my God.
You submitted an expert disclosure in this case on January 11th, 2022?
I believe the attorney submitted that disclosure, yes.
You participated in that?
In the January 11th, it was the same disclosure that went before. There were no changes on that.
Did you reference the CAPS 5 in that at all?
I don't believe I gave the results of the CAPS 5 to the attorneys at that point.
All right.
That's convenient. That's very convenient.
You met with, I got dates here. This time I'm using the cheat sheet. All right. You met with Amber Heard on September 26, 2019.
I would love to have my cheat sheet, but I'll take your word for it.
I'll share.
Thank you.
October 11, 2019. When did you give the CAPS 5?
The CAPS 5 was administered the last time that I saw Ms. Heard. I saw her over, as stated multiple times, over the past 2.5 years, and having not seen her
That's right.
in about a year to
She's
get an
not a
accurate
client.
assessment of her current symptoms.
She's not a client.
Having had all the background
Over 2.5
information,
years.
The CAPS 5 is a great structured clinical interview to do that.
All right. So you hadn't seen her for about a year before you gave her that test.
That is correct.
What?
And you did it over Zoom.
That is correct.
All right.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Oh
Why don't we
no.
pull up PX 1247.
I'll watch the beginning whenever they go on break, okay? Don't worry about
This
it.
me.
Is this live? Yes, this is unfortunately live.
I'll get you.
Sure. It's just to the witness right now, so, okay. Okay.
Sure. You can, Dr. Hughes, you can actually help with that question. This is like more than 20 pages long. Right?
It's about 20 pages.
Right. All right. Let's get a copy of it. This is a series of questions that you use to test for PTSD.
Uh-oh.
Correct.
Oh boy. Here we go. Here we go.
And you recognize the first page. This is the first page that you filled out. That's your handwriting.
That's
Oh
correct.
shit.
I'd like to publish the first page to the jury.
Do you wish to have it in evidence? You're moving it into evidence?
Yes, I am.
He's just publishing the first page. Any objection?
Yes, I am.
Okay, first page in evidence.
Oh my god. This is just like both of them are getting upset. Oh no.
Could you put your
Here we
microphone
go,
on the
boys. Here we go.
I don't have the ability to scroll down, so I can't see the rest of this.
Can we get
The brand
subtitles?
new-
No
Should I get you a
subtitles.
copy of it?
Thank you.
I'll have to reorient my whole thing. I don't want to do it.
I'd like to go to the second page. Can we put up the second page?
Are you putting the second page into evidence?
Not yet.
Then I can't put it up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like the witness to see the second.
The witness can see the second page.
Thank you.
Not
This
yet.
is the second page. This is
Oh
instructions
my
on how to do
god.
it.
Correct.
All right. And then
Oh
we'll go to the
my
third page.
God.
Let's let the witness see the third page.
This is so brutal. Like, dude, this makes my unban appeals look really
this is-
nice.
Entitled Scoring.
Correct.
So when you score, you look at two things, right? You look at frequency and intensity.
Correct.
All right. Those are the two factors you use to score.
Correct.
Yeah, makes sense.
Can we go to the fourth page of this document and just show it to the witness?
Wait, no, now there's page
So-
4?
Dr. Hughes, this is the first page of the CAPS B where, other than the identifying information, where there's any input into the document, correct?
The CAPS 5, you said the CAPS B?
Yeah, I misspoke.
Okay, yes. This is the criterion A, which means that in order to, as I said yesterday, to obtain a diagnosis of PTSD, you have to have sustained a very specific traumatic event. That's the first gate to get through the door.
But what if you don't sustain it and you say you did?
So,
Or just hypothetically. Do you still have PTSD?
Your Honor, I'm going to, I'd like to be able to get them a copy of this. Is it too early to take the break or?
A little bit, if you
All
can.
right, I can do something.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Jesus, this is the best day of his
All right,
life.
so, do you
Oh
recognize
my
the first
God.
page, or the fourth page of this document?
Oh
Yes,
my
I do.
fucking God,
And
this
the
is...
handwriting on the fourth page is yours?
It's all my handwriting.
All right, the entirety of it is yours.
Here we go.
I'm gonna move this document into evidence along with the first page. And that one is, what number? I think it is
You're still on 1247.
1247.
Okay, so you want to move the entirety of 1247 in.
Yes.
Do you have a copy of 1247?
So he just
You
wants
did
the
a
whole thing to be
1247.
evidence. I like the dichotomy here, you know? Her team
Yeah,
is
so
saying
this
what
is
isn't evidence, and his team is like, we want more evidence. As if that's not indicating what's really going on here. Yeah, who here wants to delete all the evidence? It's a good question.
Either.
Oh, it's defendants 1435.
1435. Defendants 1435.
Take your time.
Oh my God, take your time. Bro, like, he just, like, that's the best thing about it. The fact that yesterday it ended as soon as they ended, so they had all day yesterday to plan this shit
Do you
out.
want to take a look at the court's copy? Would
Like,
that be
the
easy?
entire fucking day. Just, like, sitting there, like, writing everything out, everything about it, totally fucking ready, yeah.
I think he's moving the, are you moving the entire document in?
Yeah, I'm going to move the entire document into evidence.
I don't think I have an objection to that.
No objection?
No
Did you want to take a look at the court's copy, or you're good?
Okay,
Yeah, I would.
there we go.
My apologies.
4 steps ahead, yep.
Thank you, Jamie.
It's going to show the evaluation too, right? No objection, no.
All right, so even though I pulled it from defendants 1435, we want to
No
make this
objection. All right, here we
1247
go.
plaintiffs, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay.
Does your other one back?
I kind of need it. All right. Thank you. We'll just change the number on it. All right.
All right.
So it's 1247. I said, okay, 1247 in evidence. Plaintiff's 1247 in evidence, and now it can be published to the jury.
Thank you. Why don't we publish the fourth page where we're talking about? All right. So what this references is the event you said was the worst, and what you have filled in here is 3 words. IPV by Johnny, right?
Correct.
All right. And then what happened is the next box, and you've not written a single thing in the box, right?
Because I've already spent 20 some odd hours with Ms. Hurd, I know what goes in that box. If you look at the top, it
That's
says
good.
administer the life of check checklist
That's
or
good.
other structured trauma screen.
As usual.
That screen had already been conducted.
Yeah.
Right, but there's a
'Cause it's
box
not
on
there.
the gold standard test that asks what
Oh my
happened.
God.
And it says, how old were you? How were you involved? Who else was involved? Was anyone seriously injured or killed? Was anyone in life danger? And none of that information you provide in your analysis on the CAPS 5.
Your Honor, I hesitate to object, but that's very compact.
It is.
Okay, I'll sustain the objection if you want to rephrase.
We can do it
Okay.
the slow way. The first question is, how old were you?
All of the information that would go in that box.
my
is contained
God.
in my
Oh my
80+
fucking
clinical notes
God.
Of my evaluation of Ms. Heard up until this point. It would have been
Oh
incredibly
my God.
redundant to do that again here.
But you knew other people would review this, didn't you?
And I knew that they would have my clinical
This
notes
is-
as well.
Oh, so they're supposed
Oh
to
my
parse
God.
through your clinical notes so that they can figure out what you chose to be the anchoring event.
I didn't choose to be the anchor. The client chooses to the anchor to identify what the worst
wow.
event is for them.
You wrote IPV by Johnny. That's what you determined to be the anchoring event.
When I asked Ms. Heard, once again, of the traumatic events that she experienced in her life, which one is the worst? This is what she indicated.
Okay.
Those 3
But you
words?
provided no details with respect to it.
There are plethora of details in my 80-page is a handwritten, single-spaced clinical notes.
Not a client, by the way.
All right. Let's
Not
go
a
to
client.
the next page. All right. You felt it appropriate to fill this page out, didn't you, Doctor?
Well, these are the questions about the symptoms, so I'm asking specific questions and getting her responses.
Didn't you know this already?
I was making sure at this point, having not seen her for a year, what is the trauma expression at this time? It can change over time. It could go away. It can get better.
But what
it can
about
get
the other
worse.
one you left blank?
All right.
That you just said you left blank because you knew
A
it.
couple more pages in. Let's go into page 7 of 20.
Oh my God.
Now, there are a couple of boxes that you filled in on this.
Jesus.
Let's look at item 5.
Can somebody get more red than that?
B5.
I guess we're going to find out.
You don't provide any indication of what kind of triggers, what kind of reminders trigger these reactions.
She answered that on the previous questions.
All right. And you didn't provide any answer as to how long does it take to recover.
She has some difficulty recovering.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then there's this question
That
that
makes
says,
sense.
how often has this happened in the past month? Number of
Yeah.
times.
Correct.
And we talked about how these things are scored, and we looked at, you got to look at frequency and intensity, right?
Correct.
And you left the frequency box blank.
Well, no, if she said several times
How
a month,
convenient.
then that's what the frequency is.
And you didn't fill that frequency box in at all.
Because she told me it was frequently several times a month, which is one of the anchors encoding the CAPS.
All right, let's look at the next one.
So it wasn't filled in. Of course
Very
not.
next box.
She told me. So, yeah,
Again,
why
this is
didn't you
scored
write it
by
down?
Frequency and intensity. How often in the past month?
Correct.
Blank.
Pardon?
How often in the past month? You left that one blank again, right?
She tells me it happens at least twice a week, so certainly I could multiply 2 times 4 and put in 8.
And you certainly could have written the number 2.
But it wasn't 2, if it's
Oh.
happening 2 times a week.
All right, so 2 times a week times the number of months. Now you got 2 digits instead of 1, right? That's all it took to write that down.
This is in a 1-month period, so it would have been a 4-week period.
How often in the past month? That's what it says.
Correct. You
You
said
chose
months.
not to answer that question.
Everything
Let's look
else
at the next
is so it's
page.
just blank? And she just said this
Again,
randomly?
Scoring is frequency and intensity.
She can't
How
write
often
it
in the
down?
past month? Again, you left it blank.
If you look on the right-hand box, that is where we are indicating the frequency and the severity. If you can see where I circled moderates happening more than twice a month, that's where I'm indicating the frequency of the symptom expression.
Okay. But aren't you skipping a step? You're supposed to do intensity and frequency.
And when somebody says it's happening more than twice a month, that is a frequency indicator.
All right. Let's go to the next box.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Again, we have, in the past month, how many of the important parts of event have you difficulty remembering? Number of important aspects. Didn't fill it out.
Well, I listed 2 specific incidents of where she indicates she has important aspects that are missing.
But all you had to do is put a number in here. You know you knew how to score this thing.
Well, this measure actually doesn't get scored by the frequency.
All right, you know something, you're right. Let's look at the next one.
I know.
Uh-oh. I know I'm right.
The next one gets scored by the frequency. That's blank, right?
Well, I did not
It's
code
not
it as a
even
PTSD
halfway
symptom.
over.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
And they've already got her like that. Oh my God. She's already getting triggered. It's not even halfway over.
How much of the time in the past month have you felt that way as a percentage?
Right. So as you can see, I circled 20 to 30% of the time.
Right. Yeah, but
It's
you
just
didn't
as
fill-
I'm putting it on the right side in the box where I'm coding the instrument.
We're going to talk about the right side in a minute. You took issue with the way that
Jesus.
Dr. Curry did this test, didn't you?
Correct.
All right.
Oh my God.
But your test, in every instance where you're asked the number of times and to fill in the blank, you leave it blank.
They're on the right side of the document.
All right. You want to talk about the right side of the document? Let's do that.
Okay, here we go.
After you did the CAPS 5 for the anchoring, the 3-word anchoring event, IPV by Johnny, you went back through again and said, maybe I should consider childhood trauma as well, right?
I wanted to test for the limits and see at this point in time, Ms. Heard had a child, and sometimes when people have children, their trauma gets evoked. Is she having those symptoms as well? She already had, based on this instrument, the PTSD from the interpersonal violence. I wanted to see if there were any additional
The 3-word
symptoms.
interpersonal violence.
And
Yes.
you knew that she had had severe child abuse as a young person.
That is correct.
She grew up in a home full of heroin addicts, right?
Opiate abuse, yes.
Yeah. And there was IPV between her parents.
Correct.
Yeah. And so you wanted to make sure that there wasn't
She's not happy about
some
that.
impact with this childhood trauma in the diagnosis of PTSD.
Yes.
Right. And so you decided to give her the test again.
Well, I didn't give it again. What's called testing the limits. I went back to some of the questions where she answered in the affirmative and said, and is this also happening vis-a-vis your childhood abuse? Are you also having intrusive thoughts and feelings about childhood? Are you avoiding thinking about things about childhood? Is that happening for you now as well?
All right. So there are a series of notations on the right-hand side. Let's go to page 5 of 20 in the test. All right. Why don't we highlight the right-hand notations that start under the word childhood? All right. So the way you tested for childhood PTSD is to write a notation in the corner and answer a couple of questions. Same test.
Well, I wasn't administering a whole CAPS again. What I was doing was seeing, as we know with people who have what we call polyvictimization or revictimization, someone could in fact meet criteria for the PTSD from the domestic violence, but then they're also experiencing some symptoms as a result of the childhood abuse. Both can occur.
Right. But Mr. Depp isn't responsible for her childhood abuse.
That is correct.
No.
Right. And the way you tested this childhood abuse PTSD is you made notations on the in the right-hand column of a form that you partially filled out for the IPV by Johnny, right?
Well, I disagree with the partially filled out. The frequency was clearly filled out in the box where we score the CAPS. But yes, I did write about the childhood to the
What?
right of that box.
Okay.
Oh my God. It's blank. Yeah, the answers are
that-
blank.
Is the appropriate way that the gold standard test for PTSD for childhood trauma should be administered?
If there were any affirmatives and I needed to go further, I could have administered another CAPS 5. There were not. I did not need to do that.
Okay.
Well, how convenient.
So you chose not to do a second CAPS 5, although you knew that she had suffered from severe childhood trauma.
No, because she wasn't suffering symptoms at that point in time, PTSD symptoms from the childhood trauma.
All right.
Mr. Dennison, are you moving to a different topic now?
I am.
Okay, all right, this might be a great time to take our morning break then. All right, ladies and gentlemen, seated, next question.
She's ruined, yeah.
Why don't we put that back up, plaintiff's 1247. Again, this is the CAPS 5. You didn't administer this until you already had Dr. Curry's scores, did you?
That's not correct.
No, you administered it after Dr. Curry made a disclosure, correct?
That's not correct.
You administered it after Dr. Curry had administered hers.
I learned that in late February when she submitted her report, but I had no way of knowing that in December of 2021.
And you didn't make any reference to this in your disclosures until after Dr. Curry made reference to hers, right?
I don't recall the date of the final disclosure or the fourth disclosure.
All right. Can we go to the next page? Let's go to the top of the page. We'll blow that up.
Here we go. Here we go. Yep. Let's get the paper. There we go.
Instructions start with standard administration and scoring of the CAPS 5 are essential for producing reliable and valid scores and diagnostic decisions. See that language?
I do.
All right. You don't contend it's standard not to fill out the frequency line.
I think if you're filling it on the right side of the box, I think that's perfectly fine.
All right. So you think it's
I
standard
see.
administration
Another
to
abnormality.
simply leave blanks that are already in the form?
I didn't leave blanks when I needed to find out the frequency of the symptoms.
All right, let's go down a little bit further. Let's go to administration. It says number 2.
Oh, here we
Read
go.
prompts verbatim, one at a time, and in the order presented, and then has a variety of exceptions. With respect to the childhood trauma notations you made in the margin of the CAPS 5, you didn't read the prompts verbatim, did you?
I read the first prompt. If there was a yes, then I would have made a decision, do I need to administer a whole nother CAPS?
I see.
And you ultimately didn't do that. You just simply wrote in the margin of the last one.
Because she wasn't endorsing those symptoms.
Okay. You talked about
Only one, yep.
endorsement of symptoms. Ultimately, what you're looking for with respect to PTSD is functional deficiencies. It's one of the things you look for, right?
Well, with any DSM diagnosis, you're looking for what are the functional impairments as a result of the symptoms
$500
that
an
the
hour. She couldn't even
individual is
fill it out.
experiencing.
Okay. So
$500. She
in
couldn't
fact,
even
if you
fill out
go
the form.
all the way to the end of the form.
Damn.
One of the
That's a minus
things
500.
that
True.
we deal with is impairment in occupational functioning.
Oh,
Right?
here we go.
Correct.
All right. What's Ms. Heard's occupation?
She's an actor.
All right. And she had just wrapped a major motion picture, correct?
That's correct.
So you didn't determine that she had an impairment in occupational function. She's still performing at literally the highest level of her profession.
That's
correct?
true.
She had a number of PTSD symptoms while she was filming Aquaman 2
Right.
that interfered with her ability to really organize a lot of resources for herself in order to go forward and film that.
Aquaman.
I asked you whether
Production.
she was performing at the highest level of her profession. Yes or no?
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that.
Okay. But did she report to you that she loves to cook?
She loves to cook, yes.
Yeah, hike,
I don't recall hiking, but
read,
yep.
spend time with friends?
If she can, that has been significantly diminished as a result of her PTSD symptoms as a result of this case.
She just had a baby,
She did,
right? Exercises every day?
for the most that I can tell, she does.
Yeah. Completed level 3 sommelier training.
She did.
All right, she did all of these things, and you've made a determination that she is impaired with respect to her occupational functioning.
I made a determination that the symptoms interfere with her functioning. She does these things, but it's not like the symptoms aren't there. She has to
Okay.
continue to work even though she has a panic attack, even though she has an intrusive recollection of the trauma, even though she's having
Changing
heart
the
palpitations and
vocabulary.
sweaty palms when something comes into her
I
mind.
see.
It does not stop her from doing what she needs to do, but it does interfere.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you about another test that you administered, and that one's called the PAI. Do you know that one?
Yes, I do.
That's the personality
Aptitude test, what?
assessment inventory.
That's correct.
Why don't we put in front of the witness the PX 1244?
Oh boy, another more documents for the witnesses. Oh shit. Oh no. Oh no.
All right. So, Dr. Hughes, do you recognize PX 1244?
Yes,
And it's a list of critical item endorsements,
correct,
and that's derived from the PAI?
correct.
And this is the PAI that you gave 9/26/2019.
I don't have the cover sheet in front of me, so
Why don't we scroll down to the bottom, Tom? And there it is.
yep.
There
Thank
it is
you.
down there.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay.
No, she's not happy about that.
Now, critical item, I'm going to move this document, PX 1244, into evidence.
Your Honor, I would request that the entire document be put in there, not just the piece.
I'm only going to ask her about this piece.
I still would ask.
Well, it's his exhibit. Do you have any objection to his exhibit, which is just the first page?
No.
All right, 1244 in evidence.
Oh, tried to fucking change shit.
So, critical item endorsement.
Nope.
This starts a total of
Nope.
27 PAI items reflecting serious pathology have very low endorsement rates in normal samples. These items have been termed critical items. You're familiar with that concept?
Yes, I am.
All right. And I just want to ask you about a couple of the critical items. The first one is potential for aggression. This was deemed under your PAI a critical item. And it says, sometimes my temper explodes and I completely lose control.
Uh-oh.
How did that potential for aggression bear on your analysis?
Well, there's a few things. Number one, certainly Ms. Heard reported to me that in her relationship that would happen. Her anger and her affect regulation would become impaired.
That's true.
Number two, you have to look at the total scales where that scale is not elevated, so it would not be a major cause of clinical concern. Number three, she had 4 responses that she could say to this question. Mainly true, very true, mainly true, sometimes true or false. She chose sometimes true. So she's answering honestly about her experience.
So sometimes, it's sometimes true that sometimes my temper explodes. That's
Correct.
what you're testifying.
Ah,
All right. So
that's very clear.
You talked a little bit about this concept called malingering.
sometimes it's sometimes
And there's
true.
one here for potential malingering. And this is another one of these critical item endorsements. Critical items means that these are serious pathology, right?
Well, as you can see, it says endorsement of these critical items is not in and of itself diagnostic.
No,
So you
I-
need to review the content of the item, and that's how you make the determination, is this something of clinical concern that you need to do more understanding about?
Okay, so this critical item endorsement, this one reads, under potential malingering, I think I have 3 or 4 completely different personalities inside of me.
Correct,
And she endorsed that as sometimes true.
correct.
Okay.
And there's not one elevated malingering scale on the PAI.
Let me ask you about another document.
This girl's crazy. I know she's crazy. She shit in his bed. You just figuring that out now? Yeah, which one of the personalities shits in people's beds? She's multi-boxing. Well, I guess actually, yeah, she literally is boxing. Yeah, maybe that's not a...
Mark the document as PX 448.
That's a double meaning I didn't really intend. Yeah, shit. Yeah, never mind on that one.
1248.
1248.
All right, yes, sir.
Yeah, never mind on that one.